Welcome to the Filmsteins, the podcast where we discuss all things movies. Join us as we dive deep into the latest releases, revisit classic films, and explore the art of cinema. Whether you're a film fanatic or just love a good flick, we've got you covered. From Hollywood blockbusters to indie gems, we'll be breaking down the storytelling, cinematography, and everything in between. So grab some popcorn, sit back, and get ready for some cinematic magic. If you like what you hear, please consider subscribing to our Patreon at patreon.com/filmsteins. We offer tiers at the $1, $5, and $20 level. For the $5 tier will grant the ability to request films for future episodes. This is the Filmsteins, where movies are more than just entertainment, they're an experience. All around you. And welcome back to another episode of the Filmsteins. Thanks for tuning in today. We're glad you can make it. I'm joined today by my hot rod friend, Lucy.
Hello, everyone.
How are you today?
I'm good today. Starting to feel the winter freeze. The winter breeze. The winter freeze.
You can join us every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday for brand new episodes of the Filmsteins. Some previous episodes include our coverage of Blue Beetle, another superhero movie, Slaughterhouse, El Conde, Countdown, and our Patreon exclusive episode on Only Murders in the Building. That crazy Hulu show over there. But today, we're discussing the humble beginnings of the MCU. The 2008 Jon Favreau film, Iron Man. That's the first one. But before we say anything, did we or did we not like this film? Did I like this film, Lucy?
I don't even know if that's fair for us to say that.
Yeah, it's an older film now. We've discussed it.
Yeah, many times. I
So.
think it gets brought up every time.
As being the exception to the rule
Yes.
in the MCU world.
Yes.
Or as being one of them, I should say.
Yeah.
There's a couple.
So I think you did.
Yeah, I do enjoy this film. That is true. Yeah. That's really not fair. And I know you love this film. You don't even need to ask. I know you love this film. But I would be curious, after talking about film in such a way for about a year, on and off the record, I'm going to be curious to hear what you have to say about it. Still. All right, well, I'll just say off the top that this film is still an exception to the rule of the wider MCU franchise, I guess we can call it at this point, right? Is it all one big franchise and then you have your micro franchises? Because to me, they're all kind of one and the same, but I know there's...
Yeah, it's like a big franchise and then maybe units or something.
I do appreciate the literal kind of humble beginnings of the film, because there's not a lot of that gross CG that we kind of came to know and love, starting with, I can't really say where we start, but the first one that comes to my mind is the first Avengers, where the CG just gets a little out of control, I think. I'm sure it starts a little earlier than that, but of course we have a lot of green screening and compositing here too. I mean, that's just impossible to not have happen. But I guess the only thing I wanted to say that doesn't hold up super well in my eyes is the flying around. It looks a little, I guess when he's moving when he's moving quickly across a certain amount of space, it looks pretty old. But I mean, in general, I mean, it's not even really a hurdle to get over, but I just kind of was like, oh, that looks a little dated.
Really, the flying?
Yeah.
I thought the flying held up pretty well. I thought anything suit related held up pretty well. The things that didn't hold up for me were the kind of weird commercial things that we saw, like or not commercial, but I guess at one point Pepper was watching some guy making fun of.
That was weird.
That was weird.
That was very weird.
That was very out of place. And I don't know if it was in place back then.
No,
I don't
definitely
know.
not. Pepper's character would never watch something like that. For one.
But she probably just had the TV on.
Yeah, but that wouldn't even be background noise for her. That's so insane. That was like some wacky version of Alex Jones or something on YouTube. Like that was really out of place, I thought. Yeah. I forgot about that. That's a good point.
And maybe some of the outfits for me were
The outfits, okay.
a little outdated.
Okay.
Just the normal civilian outfits.
Yeah, the early 2000s look doesn't hold up super well.
Yep.
Okay, it was kind of a remnant of the 90s, and God knows the 90s does not hold up super well.
Yep.
But there's a weird time right there. Okay, I see that.
But besides that, I think there was another commercial or just something on TV that kind of took me out of place a little bit. But other than that, everything else for me held up super well.
Did you hear anyone bitch and complain about Jon Favreau and friends recording the TV and it being lazy?
No.
Because remember we saw that with M. Night Shyamalan's Knock at the Cabin. People were kind of being weird about him filming the TV like that.
Yeah.
We had a lot more of that here. There were quite a few shots that were recordings of another screen.
Yeah.
Or at least included another screen in the background. That was kind of important, and because it was the news or something. That's what I was just thinking about that when we were going through this. So, because it's at the front of the movie, I'm just going to tell you my favorite part. My favorite part of the movie is the very beginning, when he's in Afghanistan.
Yeah, I agree that the first part of the movie, I mean, it's awesome. You're not expecting this to be the start of the movie this turns out to be. Like, the beginning of the movie is nothing like the end of the movie.
Or even the rest of the MCU.
Yeah, agreed. I know when I was younger and watched this movie, I guess not that young, but it was one of the first serious movies I watched, and I know you laughed when I told you that before because it's not super serious, but listen, to me it was. You know, I was watching Garfield and this is Disney now, but back then it wasn't Disney, so I was watching Disney shit. I wasn't watching any adult stuff that I probably should have, but you know, I'm a child. I'm still a child. So this was one of the first movies I watched and kind of saw the potential of what a good movie could be. And I remember just the beginning kind of psyching me out so much that a good movie could have this kind of introduction, because I feel like younger me, that introduction is something that could have just made me not want to watch it just because of, you know, kind of
the grittiness.
Yeah, some desert scene,
the
war
military
stuff. Yeah, military stuff. It's like, no.
Get that.
But yeah, I remember just sticking out so much to me.
That's funny. I think the first, I'd have to think about it a little bit more, but I think the very first like adulty serious movie that I saw and spoke to me like that was A Beautiful Mind with John Nash. The John Nash character played by Russell Crowe. But yeah, that Beautiful Mind. Have you seen that?
I did. I actually watched that like maybe. Oh no, it was in 11th or 12th grade. It was whenever I took calculus. One of our teachers made us watch it.
Okay.
And I really liked it, but I was not watching that in 2008.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the first movie that comes to mind that was along those lines and being, you know, hyper. You know, I should say a kind of a focus on the drama instead of some kind of spectacle and everything like that.
Yeah.
Because other than that, the so-called adulty stuff I was watching was horror films, and there aren't many. Well, at that time, I hadn't seen very many dramatic horror films either. You know, the most dramatic one I'd probably seen at that point was The Exorcist, which, as we know, is somewhat of a comedy today.
Yeah, and there's no way in hell I was watching horror.
That's crazy. That's all I wanted to watch when I was little.
It's funny how they didn't keep this type of seriousness with any of the other MCU films. And it was the beginning. This was the, you know, origin point to whatever is now. And oh my gosh, you probably wouldn't even be able to compare them.
No, they feel like completely different eras. Kind of like the early Tobey Maguire Spider-Mans and Marvel now and stuff. And there's, you know, I guess a familiarity in them in that, you know, a lot of the same actors are there. So it can kind of, you know, your mind kind of fills in the gaps that are actually there. I have every reason to believe that that's probably because Jon Favreau and Kevin Feige had a clash at some point. I think probably shortly after the acquisition with Disney. And Kevin Feige's vision just kind of outpaced Jon Favreau. Because I think Jon Favreau wanted a little bit more of a grounded, maybe not dire, but more serious MCU. And when Disney got involved, they wanted a Marvel that could just be monetized from every angle. And so they needed to go to the lowest common denominator angle first and foremost. So I think that they pushed Jon Favreau out from a directing point after that. And then, as we know today, any director who gets involved ends up not really saying great things about working with Marvel and Disney, and they, their vision, or I should say their personality and probably vision, don't really come to the surface because they're so snuffed out by Kevin Feige and Kathleen Kennedy and stuff.
Yeah, because I was reading an article written, I guess, a few years after this movie came out, and this person was saying how the only thing they didn't like about this film was the kind of adult content, like how serious it was, how, Robert Downey Jr. was portrayed as a womanizer, and there were quite a few bad words in there, and, implied sex scenes. I'm like, that's
the character.
Yeah. I mean, he is. He's a billionaire, and he's a
playboy.
A playboy, and he has this like world shift about what he's doing with his life and blah blah blah. So you need to make him like that.
I remember him being more of a playboy too, but he only he only hooks up with one girl right there, with the news lady and stuff, which is fun and mostly pointless, other than kind of displaying that he can kind of just turn that on whenever he wants, or turn them on whenever he wants, I should say. Got him.
And I guess they do have the gambling scene, which...
Oh, yeah.
Again, I mean, I guess Pepper says at one point about all the other women, but...
That's the character.
That is the character. And, okay, putting that aside, the other serious stuff is what makes this movie so great. Like, so when he gets taken as a hostage, and we have the whole, beginning, the whole scene, he gets tied up, there's shrapnel, and he gets saved. I mean, there's blood. I don't know if any of the newer MCU films have blood in it, or any kind of gore, if you can even count that as gore.
Which, if you think about that for 5 seconds, is kind of insane and ridiculous that there isn't a little bit more of a graphic kind of violence, because these peoples are incredibly powerful. They have incredibly dangerous weapons and things like that. So you can imagine holes being blasted in the people, arms and legs being pulled off, heads being punched off, stuff like that. It'd be pretty believable, and we obviously don't get any of that. It looks very smashing toys together.
Yeah.
Even smashing toys are more violent because pieces are going to fall off. So, I don't know.
Someone's head is popping off for sure when you're clashing toys together.
Yeah.
So when you say the lowest common denominator, you mean children?
I mean, yes and no. I mean, trying to speak to the child, the middle child, the older teenager and the adult. I think the easier ones to bag are the older children and the adults. I think they're the easy ones to bag because a lot of people have been wishing for this kind of thing for all their life. Super high budget, super beautifully crafted, super well acted. It's got a lot of really cool things going for it. Even the modern MCU stuff. It's like, no one could have imagined that was going to happen 25 years ago. Spider-Man, those Tobey Maguire Spider-Mans, those were revolutionary. Even the Batmans, those the Tim Burton Batmans. But these MCU ones are just on a completely new level. And so, as we all are kind of guilty of, we feed into this thing that we've just all wanted for so long and stuff. And as we would come to know around this time, nerd culture is a really big deal. It's important. It can drive any franchise into the biggest thing in the world.
Yeah.
Right. And so I don't know at what point they knew they had them, but they knew, and then they knew they just needed to kind of angle this towards kids a little bit more to tap into that, because the kids are harder. I think they all know this, that the kids are the harder ones to tap into because they have no attention span. And toys and shit help with that, to help kind of triangulate that.
I feel like the newer movies make you, the audience, feel like you have no attention span, that they are treating you that way.
Yeah, I think they've ran away a little bit with the child angle today.
Yeah, okay.
I think there was a peak, and I think a lot of people will look at the Endgame era as the kind of peak, and because there was obviously some vision at different points in the MCU. I think the vision starts off pretty strong, and then with the first Avengers film ends kind of weak, and then the second phase they didn't really know where to go with it, and then they had the Thanos thing, and that probably mostly wrote itself to some degree, not super successfully, I would say, but things like Spider-Man and Guardians helping build that up just kind of made that really hit with people because of, James Gunn, because Spider-Man is just super loved, and those films are actually pretty decent, and Tom Holland's great, and then not to mention that was kind of a full circle moment with Iron Man, because he kind of became the mentor to Tom Holland's Spider-Man, and then, so there was kind of a pendulum swing happening there, kind of like what we're experiencing today, but today's obviously a little bit more dire because they're losing money by the fucking barrel loads over there at Disney. So, and I think that does have everything to do with them kind of forgetting kind of who brought them to the dance, they kind of forgot who their partner was because they swooned everybody, and now they're hanging out with kids a little too much. It's like, I don't know. No one wants to be part of that because it's so bad. And it's not even like a production thing, because like you've talked about, I guess like both of us have talked about, at least off the record, that these CW shows, they're relatively high budget for network television, but they're not special in the spectacle way.
Mm-hmm.
But they obviously have a little bit of, a little bit of a nice story to tell, an actual story.
They have some grit.
Yeah.
To them.
And I think there's something to lose in those shows too. I think people actually, there's a sense of urgency and everything, and I think there has been some of that in the MCU too, but they just lost touch with a story, a vision, where to take it. They obviously are cutting corners because they're trying to make so much. They're cutting corners with the CG, and they're pissing people off, and that's obviously, it may not be so obvious, but that's a very important part. You don't want to piss people who you work with off, because it makes everything suffer, and then you can get more out of someone if you're friendly and or actually friends with people and stuff. It's kind of like, reminds me of the Sony Microsoft chip shortage problem with the launch of the PS5 and the Xbox Series S and X. How in a very economic, capitalistic kind of sense, you would think Microsoft would have the upper hand to leverage whatever to get the chips before PlayStation, but PlayStation has the actual relationships and they are friendly with people and stuff. And so guess who won in that scenario? A company a 1/100th of the size of Microsoft won. It's fucking embarrassing left and right. Everything Microsoft does is embarrassing, except Azure stuff, I guess. But I guess specifically, I mean, like Taika Waititi. If they would have allowed him, the guy who did The Hunt for the Wilder People, remember that?
Yeah, I remember
with Ricky Baker.
Yep.
And a bunch of other stuff. If they would have let him just do those Thor movies that he did, Love and Thunder and Ragnarok. I know people kind of look at Ragnarok as one of the last decent ones, but I mean, I don't know, man. Go watch it. It's better than maybe Black Widow or the new Ant-Man, but you can see the decline very quickly happening with that movie. And if they would have just let Taika, make it kind of his own, I guarantee you they would have had a different level of success with that. And then it was even worse with Love and Thunder. So it's a mixed bag. It's probably one of the fun thing that their strategists had to kind of talk about and day in, day out kind of thing. I'd love to be part of that too. If looking at the data and stuff, that'd be fucking dope. But it's a little bit of column A, column B thing over and over again happening. But does that answer your question?
Yes. I forgot what I even asked. Yes. It's just crazy though how you go from this beautiful, just metal type of movie to cutesy.
Yeah, it kind of did become cutesy, didn't it?
Yeah, and don't get me wrong, I'm a fan of a lot of Marvel, especially Tom Holland. Tom Holland's Spider-Man.
Yeah,
and I personally love all the Avengers movies, all of them, from the first one to the last to Endgame. Sprinkle in, I guess that was a Captain America movie, wasn't it? The Civil War.
Yeah, it was like a pseudo Avengers film.
Yeah, which had a problem with the story there because I'm an Iron Man girl, day in and day out. But I even like that film. But
that's a favorite too, I think, the Civil War film.
So I'm a fan, but they did become so cutesy, and I just have a hard time, especially rewatching this. I have a hard time just understanding where it went, how it went so opposite of what it did. How'd you feel about Robert Downey Jr. being our Iron Man?
Well, I think it's a little bit of a twofold thing, because you're obviously gonna have that thing where no one's gonna be able to look at just Robert Downey Jr. as someone else. He's just become this icon, both in real life and in the show, and so that's a sign of success, for better or worse, right?
Yeah.
But it's also one of those things, kind of like Captain Jack Sparrow and Johnny Depp, where the cadence of them just matches the performance and type of character they gave us to the craziest that it just you literally just cannot imagine a different Iron Man. It would be someone different. It would be completely different character, which could totally work. I know Tom Cruise was kind of the ideal pick for Jon Favreau, but that would have been an insanely different movie. I know it may have not spurred on the whole MCU. It may not have spurred on Disney getting in bed with Marvel at all, and that would have been a completely different world.
Yeah, I know. I don't know if it was Jon Favreau that wanted Tom Cruise, but Tom Cruise kind of wanted the role. But this was in the 90s. This was before anything by Jon Favreau had been created. And before Tom Cruise, there was talk of Nick Cage wanting this role, which that would have been insane.
That would have been totally crazy.
Which, that's still cool though, because I would have loved this movie with any of these three characters. But Robert Downey Jr. was a fabulous choice. He completely owned this character. I didn't even know who, Robert Downey Jr. was. That doesn't mean much for me. Ask me who the Disney kids were, the Nickelodeon kids were, I could tell you that. But I didn't know who he was until this film, and I can't even name anything else he's been in besides Oppenheimer.
In the Sherlock Holmes films, right?
Oh yeah, the Sherlock. I didn't watch those. I know
okay.
he's in those, but I've never seen those. I think the only Sherlock Holmes type of film I've seen is the one where he's like really old.
Yeah, I don't know that one.
Like Mr. Holmes? I don't know what it's called.
I don't know that.
Yeah,
one.
he's like really old, and I wasn't a fan.
He's basically the same character in Sherlock Holmes as Iron Man.
Ah.
Except he's just even smarter, I guess. He's like smarter on a mathematical and Notre Dame kind of way. He can predict stuff, and I guess so psychological, and it's okay. Those films are so okay that they're a little overrated. I know people love those.
Yeah, but I know Iron Man sparked just something in me that I didn't know a film could, which probably so many people. After that film, I became such a big Iron Man fan, even to today. I have an Iron Man mouse pad and mouse, and had bags. Completely fell in love with this character. And if the movie wouldn't have been a success, I don't know if I would have fallen in love with this character, and I don't know if I would have even continued watching any of the MCU movies. This was such a great start for them that I don't know why they didn't continue with this type of tone.
I think the tone has everything to do with the forced chemistry between specific characters, like Captain America and Iron Man, pretty much kind of playing a same role where they are, and which puts them kind of toe to toe with each other, and they have to outdo each other and everything. And you have the Thor-like character who is just an idiot and like makes everybody say jokes basically.
Yeah.
And Hulk is just kind of, I guess, there. And then it just kind of, I guess it has a similar tone all the way through up until Guardians. And then when Guardians hits, for some reason they're like every character can act like the Guardians, and so I think that's where the jokes really start to get out of control. I don't know. We may be seeing the demise of the writing in the MCU. May have everything to do with the chemistry on set too, where the joking was just a little out of control and they put too much of it in the film. That may have been some of that.
Wait, so you think like the first Avengers?
I think the first Avengers has too many jokes.
What did you say about Iron Man and Captain America?
That they kind of fill a similar role where that forces them to compete with each other, which I think is why we get, Civil War, and that they're having to outdo each other and being the better hero and, kind of driving the Avengers.
So you don't like that?
No, I think that's a good tension to have,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't think they knew how to continue with that after Civil War, and
Okay.
I think that in combination with the joking just created a really bad tension of writing. Does that make sense? Where we just, and then Loki, not to mention, becoming way too big of a phenomenon.
I didn't understand that whatsoever.
Because he was, he's a jokester. He's supposed to be a jokester. He's like the god of tricking or whatever. So like it's just, I don't know. We leaned a little bit too much into characters starting to fill the same roles and characters cutting up too much. And like I said, I think that I wouldn't be surprised if if that was partially due to the good chemistry on set with them working, and especially after I guess knowing that there was some improv with Iron Man in this movie specifically, that they let the Thor character, Iron Man character, or Robert Downey Jr. and Captain America and whoever, they just kind of let them be themselves and what they are in real life a little bit, just so it could make for an easier time on the writing, so we didn't have to actually write anything. They could just be themselves and be funny guys and stuff. I think there's maybe some of the reason.
Yeah,
you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's like when your teacher separates you and your friend from class because you're gonna cut up. You know everything's gonna be 10 times funnier when you're with your friends.
Okay, I'm glad that's coming across. And then I think when the Guardians was introduced, they were like, after they see James Gunn's writing style, basically they're like, holy shit, we can just force this now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it got way out of control because it just wasn't, it didn't fit. Like, this is not how we make anything happen. Like, this is commercialization to the worst, degree. The art is completely gone all of a sudden.
Okay.
And we saw that happen. We saw that only kind of heightened in the lack of attention with, the CG and stuff. And I mean, and arguably the performances just in general, they start to fall off, and then, and then not to mention, and the other angle of like hiring people like Taika, attaching yourself to these types of people who are kind of phenomenons in their own right, but just for PR reason, just so they can go around and talk about the film. Christian Bale being the bad guy in Love and Thunder, it's just like, and he sandbags the movie, and you're just like, fuck. Like, we can't hire actual people who care about a craft. And I'm sure Robert Downey Jr. and them probably feel similar at this point, because I mean they're probably pretty smart people,
Yeah.
And I know Chris Hemsworth has talked. He's kind of tried to dodge some of the sandbagging, because I know he's been a real active voice about kind of counteracting like Martin Scorsese and Quentin Tarantino about them saying that MCU is not cinema and stuff, and which is stupid to say. Just it, cinema's big enough to include the MCU, of course. I think, and maybe nothing's big enough. If cinema's not, nothing is, right? But it just, cinema looks different now. Blockbusters look different now, and
yeah.
And so I don't know. And I know Chris Hemsworth, kind of was like, I hate to hear that two of my favorite directors, think our movies suck. It's like I wanted to work with them at some point, but I guess I can't now out of principle, kind of thing.
Oh my god,
Chris, I don't.
Shut up.
This is not your battle. This is just not your battle. I'm sorry. And he seems like the dumbest of the bunch too. But I don't know. Is that making sense?
Yeah. No, it does.
It's a frustrating, interesting thing to really talk about the MCU, because it started out pretty strong, and if they could have just kept it a little bit, if they could have just not made it as ambitious, they probably would have had a lot more gas in their tank. Which I think we talked about that with the Blue Beetle, though. The moment you let it get big, it's just out of control, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know how you write a story in that, because you need characters, you need
Right.
arcs. You can't just have the anime thing. I mean, you can, but only to a point. You know, it ends once you start throwing universes at each other. That's it. You can't, what happens? What's bigger than that?
Yeah.
So I think that's one reason, Iron Man's always going to stand up on its own, because it's a very humble story in its own right. Next to the MCU at least.
Yeah.
Still a pretty ambitious thing going on here. We're talking about Stark Industries, who are the supplier of all great weapons across the world, right? So we're already starting a little big, I guess, in that way, but the real crux of the story is Tony having a change of heart and being like, this is not a way to make money, this is not a way to live as a race of people. So
yeah, and he's not looking at the consequences of his actions, which is nice. Good job.
And it took him being fucking held hostage and forced to work in some fucking organized terrorist group to realize that, it's badass.
Look, I mean, it is what it is. Some people need to learn from other people's mistakes, and some people need to get held hostage for a few days.
It's kind of a really nice contrasting, like, forced parallels with each other, where we need this severe ass motherfucking thing needs to happen to this extremely consequential person,
Yeah.
like consequential in the sense that his actions matter on a world stage,
Right.
So it's just kind of fun that those happen like that, versus something like in Blue Beetle, where we have this weapon dealer, weapon inventor, right, the Chords, creating the OMAC. And, like, why is Jaime involved in this? Coincidence. So,
Yeah.
coincidence isn't bad per se, but it just, he was working at some
Hotel.
Yeah, hotel kind of, what do they call that
Resort.
thing where, like, they have golfing a lot and tennis and
Oh, like a country club.
a country club
Yeah.
type place, and he just kind of wandered into this new life. It's like, okay.
Went in for a job.
Yeah. And so, of course it's not easy to just write anything, but when you see Iron Man next to something like Blue Beetle, you're just like, that's how you tell this story. That's a proper way to tell this kind of similar story.
Mm-hmm. In Iron Man, even just this first one, we don't get a lot of Jarvis.
Yeah. We hardly get any Jarvis.
Yeah, and even there we could see how much better their connection is versus Blue Beetle and Kaji, whatever its name was. Kajida.
Yeah, and we get this this tension with Tony and Pepper that doesn't get any delivery. You're just like, oh, that's good tension. You want to keep that up, and because it gets, it starts off, it builds a little bit, it kind of fizzles out because they refer to each other kind of more professionally at the end. There, it's like, okay, that's there's something there, but then there's not. There's something there, there's something not. It's good. That's good setup, right? That's how you write characters and stuff. And then we have this legacy friend / colleague who was his dad's friend or dad's kind of underling, and now he's kind of his that guy's underling, right? But also still the son of the dad, right? Obviously, whatever his name is. Howard Stark, yeah. And so there's this fun, like, legacy friendship / kind of weird ownership over the company and everything, or a weird kind of COO kind of thing going on with the company, because I guess it's a publicly traded company, it sounds like, because he talked about the board.
Oh, yeah. Well, that makes sense.
Which is kind of funny, because I would have guessed Stark Industries to be completely privately owned by Tony and family. Yeah. But that's a nice tension. And then, can you, we'll talk about more in a little bit. Can you predict that he's going to become the bad guy? Maybe, but there's at least this legacy there, friendship there, kind of both concerned about the company there. There's nice tension from many angles happening there. And then even from a story which we'll talk about here in a little bit. Even from a story angle, there's nice tension happening there. But
And to bring Blue Beetle back to that, we have Jaime and Jenny kiss in like the first 30 minutes of the film. Like this weird forced kiss. They haven't even talked. I mean, Pepper and Tony have been working I don't know how many years together, and
she's concerned about him,
and she loves him. Yeah, they're friends. But then we have this really forced relationship over here. They kiss, or they're about to kiss. I don't know. And then Rudy walks in on them, and it's like, whoa, what's going on here? Like, no, quit.
It's awkward.
Quit doing it.
That was the best way to describe that movie. Blue Beetle's very awkward, and unfortunately is one of the stronger superhero movies of late. But just compared to this, it's just like, wow, they should have just gone down a similar route. However, that in storytelling, that'd be hard to do because I guess Jaime is not the owner and operator of,
anything.
Yeah, anything except a degree in pre-law.
How did you feel about the suits?
The suits are cool.
From his first suit that he creates in the fucking cave with very limited number of materials to his, I guess he's got a prototype somewhere in there, and then his iconic red and gold suit.
Yeah, no, that's what you just laid out that's decent storytelling. They had a development in the suit themselves, but no, I like the first suit a lot. I like there is literally a montage in there, but there's almost kind of just a 10-minute montage feeling kind of thing happening there and nice tension of back and forth between the two.
Mm-hmm.
Him and his captive. Tony's in his captive. That's my favorite part of the movie is that build up, that first 10-15 minute build up. And I mean, that first suit is very cool. It's an excellent way to kind of tell you what Tony's all about, you know?
Yeah.
Because they could have made him just today they would have just made him, they would have told you he's smart. They would have somehow displayed his playboyness. He's the smartest guy in the room kind of thing. His ingenuity type stuff, they would have done something very small with that, but here they showed you that when everything's on the line, he can something, like he's gonna fucking do something, and then they tie what he creates into the story a little bit later, and they tie that into something that happens even before the story. There's this kind of trifecta of storytelling. It's good storytelling.
It's awesome, yeah.
And that amounts to the Iron Man suit, which is just that first Iron Man suit, which is just so cool. Yeah, I mean, I don't really know what to say about the suit themselves. I like the design a lot. I also liked where, like, with the final suit, I liked that he was, he's like, make it gold, and then he was like, throw a little hot rod red in there, and that was just, I mean, that's the kind of stupid shit that's totally fine, and like, I don't know, just not, it just a little bit stupid all throughout this, but there's not every 5 seconds is stupid. That was just enough stupid to make you smile,
Yeah, and
because that's all you could ever really ask for, because it's not a comedy.
Right, it's not a comedy, and that gets lost in the newer films. But I love the suits. I love how they look. I love how shiny they are. There's nothing angular about them. They're just so sleek. I love that his inspiration came from his cars, and just the whole, it's not really a montage, but just the whole section where he's trying out the suits, and he's like, all right, let's try this at 10%.
That's sort of a montage.
It's okay.
It's like a little bit of an extended montage.
All right.
Because that's what I was kind of talking about. That's a similar thing happening at the very beginning where we have this like extended montage. It's not real quick. Like the literal montage in the cave is like when he's really getting going and cutting and screwing and everything, and all the close-ups and everything. That's like the more traditional montage. But I feel like that whole section is almost a montage because it's kind of a build up to that. And then there's a kind of a nice, complimentary thing happening later, which I think is that Echo is good storytelling, or can be, and I think it is here
Yes, definitely agree.
Because then because it's like super high tech. Yeah, we're going from like some primitive ass Afghan tools and shit to, Stark Industry tools.
His home, his environment where he's gonna thrive. But yeah, I love all that. I love all the sounds the suit makes.
Oh yeah. No, they're iconic
awesome.
at this point.
Yes, they're very iconic.
Yes.
And I would just sit here and gush all over this movie if I could, all day. So even does the evil suit have a name? No, right? Whatever Obadiah's Stane is.
I think he goes by Ironmonger.
Okay, yeah.
Which he says earlier in the movie too. He says he's talking to Tony when they're talking about the reactor doesn't have a future and stuff.
Yeah.
He's like, we're Ironmongers,
That's
is it's not. I mean, I wouldn't say that's genius storytelling. I wouldn't put this on the level of The Whale or whatever. But that's fucking good storytelling. That's like foreshadow 101, which shouldn't be the baseline. That shouldn't be like great storytelling or anything, but that is kind of the baseline of good storytelling. And it is. And then that whole conversation they have right before that about him talking about the arc reactor and stuff is genius. It really is genius at least in the landscape of the MCU.
Well, I love how that suit looks too. Yeah. I absolutely love
the one at the very end.
Yes. Yeah. I guess the one his engineers came up with.
Yeah.
Completely love it. I love that it's huge. I love that it's big. It's clunky. It's, the thrusters on that one just feel like a spaceship about to take off.
That's what a spaceship sounds like. That's where they got that sound. I was about to say that. That was my favorite part of that whole section where he was taking off real slow and he sounded just like a spaceship. That was sick. Very cool.
Love him. And then that little nod when Rhodes looks at the other Iron Man suit that Tony had there.
That's confidence in your vision.
Yes.
Like there was no delivery there, right? That's good
nothing.
Storytelling.
He said just a few words. I don't remember what he said.
He was like, maybe next time or something like that.
Yeah, that's right. And that's it. That's it. Nothing
That's
else.
Good storytelling. God, why does this not? Why doesn't Blue Beetle why? I don't understand. This movie's not even that great, but it's.
Speak for yourself.
But it is in the landscape of the MCU and in your generic movie fare.
Yeah.
What was your favorite part of the movie?
Oh my gosh, I think my favorite part of the movie is when Stane removes his little fake heart and he has to crawl back to get the one that Pepper left in that little glass container that she gave him as a gift.
Little collectible container.
Yeah. And he has to go crawl over there and he didn't make it and he's on the ground. You're like, shit, he's dying. And then the little stupid robot just grabs it and gives it to him. Which
all that has great setup too.
Yes.
The robot, the robot was having a good old time with Tony when he was flying around and blasting him with the fire extinguisher and stuff, and there was like a little funny moment there, and it even doubled up when he was trying to land on the roof and he fell through the roof. There was like,
yes,
that's proper, comedy in this kind of film.
And then you have this scene and I'm like, oh my god, that's probably my favorite scene.
Yeah,
it's probably my favorite scene. And the end, of course. I love the end.
And then the heart of the reactor itself, like the smaller one where like Pepper was, he was like, he gave it to Pepper and Pepper was like, what do I do with this? And Pepper, he's like, just destroy it, incinerate it, whatever. And Pepper,
nostalgic. Yeah,
and Pepper was like, well, it feels kind of important, and she's also kind of playing a joke on him, and says that he has a heart and stuff because there's because of that tension there. So there's like that culminates in that scene, and it's from different angles. Like that's proper writing. Like that's like, there's nothing linear about that. It converges just at the right point. That's good. No, that's a great scene. I'd say it's probably in the top 5 scenes because it's one of those convergent points for all that. It's really good stuff. My favorite scene as far as dialogue goes is probably the scene where Tony and Stane, that's his name, Jeff Bridges, are talking in front of the arc reactor. That's probably my favorite dialogue exchange. But I like the cave scenes the best as far as just setup, and it's just gross and There's like it feels very foreign and not American, even though I guess it was filmed in America, but it feels good. And there's like this weird organized terrorist-esque group that's not all of the same, area in the world and everything. They're all from different parts of the world, which, it does a really good job. That early part, does a really good job placing it from a terrorist angle, but immediately kind of recalibrates itself to being like, oh, this is much bigger than just any regular ass terrorist organization. Like, because it's like he's talking about how there's a bunch of different people talking a bunch of different languages and stuff.
So clever.
That's good stuff.
And you brought up this point a little bit ago, but there are funny moments in this. Don't get me wrong, but they're just so well and so limited that it's okay. Like when he gets found after being held hostage, and the first thing he wants to do is go grab a cheeseburger. I mean, that seems like something that would be in the MCU now. Something stupid, but
it's part of his character.
Yes. And then he goes to Burger King.
Yeah.
God damn it.
Why didn't he go to McDonald's?
Why didn't he go to Sonic? That's
Do they have Sonic in
go.
California? I don't know.
Oh, is that a regional thing?
I think so.
Not everywhere in the US has Sonic?
I don't think so. I think that might be a South thing.
Ah, interesting.
Yeah, Sonic's pretty good for all you people out there in the world.
All you Sonic lovers.
Yeah, shout out to Sonic. Shout out the Burger King chicken fries.
Oh, Burger King chicken fries are good.
But they've set up Tony in such a way that him wanting a burger makes total sense. He's this kind of nonchalant guy with everything that happens to him. Mm-hmm. Not that he believes that things are just going to work out, but it's just kind of his motto. And I know the rest of the MCU basically kind of adopts the same thing but it feels like at that point it's just that they all just believe it's going to work out. And because it does. And that's my main problem with the entirety of the MCU, even from the very beginning. I guess with the exception of Iron Man, because we didn't really know where things were going, that there's no sense of urgency. And there doesn't need to be a sense of urgency here because, I guess there is a little bit of sense of urgency here, but it's handled in such a way that Tony starts to deal with the problem as soon as he can. Because he gets paralyzed. The plan is revealed to him, basically, or the plan comes to him. He knows that Pepper is in trouble, and other people with the plant or whatever are in trouble. And, it's resolved. It's not this looming thing that no one fucking gives a shit about.
Yeah, and even from the beginning, when he, gets held captive and he's in there with...
What's his name?
Yinsen.
Yinsen, okay.
When he's in there with him, and he tells them, what do you have to lose at this point? And we kind of keep that theme going with the whole movie. What do you have to lose?
Oh, yeah.
You're going to die. They're going to kill you whether you make whatever they want you to make for them or not. So just do what you want and, not be chill about it, but that's just what's going to happen. You're just going to do what you need to do. And we keep that.
Yeah, I forgot about that. They set that up from the very beginning. What kind of emotional state's going on in Tony's head?
Yeah.
What kind of stoic state is going on in his head?
That's a good way to put it. Yeah.
Yeah. He's got himself under control, and he knows that he can handle X and Y situation, but he's still just Tony Stark. Like, he's not going to be like, he's not going to come, I don't know, he's not going to become running up with the fucking Olympic torch and, be like, I got this. He's not going to do the heightened thing that you see maybe Superman do or something, or the way I feel like Superman would be, but like, you were a villain and I'm going to get rid of you now. He doesn't do any of that. You know what I mean? That weirdness, which is fine where it makes sense, but that's not Tony's character, and they kind of paint that from the very beginning. I did like, I guess to go back to the cave, I did like the Yinsen character quite a bit, even though we lose him very quickly too.
I know.
And that's probably the most forced bit of emotion that happens in the whole show, but it's still just excellently set up and done, I feel like, because, he's like, I want to be with my family and everything, and then he's like, all my family's already been dead this whole time,
I'm
it's
gonna
like,
go be with
I'm gonna
them,
go see him now. It's like, goddamn, dude,
like,
yeah.
I'm not crying, you're crying.
It's good stuff. It's good stuff.
I really enjoyed the soundtrack in this movie. It's already a metal movie, and it's, no pun intended. And we have the metal music to accompany it. And I was reading that the guitarist from Rage Against the Machine worked a lot on some of the guitar soundtrack in this. And he was actually a cameo in the movie. And I bring this up because during the desert scene, you were like, who's that one white guy over there standing to the left? And I think it might be him. I didn't look up where he was. It just said that he was a cameo and he was part of the 10 ring, whatever they were called. And he was in there.
Oh, that's funny.
So I think that might have been him.
He was the random white guy.
He was the random white guy.
Well, yeah, they shortly say, after I said that, that's when I think Jensen said that there were a bunch of people from a bunch of different cultures and stuff. So there were probably a couple more white guys throughout there that I didn't see. But yeah, I thought that was kind of funny because most of them are more kind of East European or Middle Eastern or whatever and stuff. But yeah, cool. That's cool. That is very cool. That's cool that they got, a guy from Rage Against the Machine. That's cool. Was he the one playing Iron Man? Did he do the soundtrack in that way? Or did they get Black Sabbath to perform it? Do you know?
I don't know. I just know he worked with them quite a bit.
That's sick. Yeah, I liked how we saw Tony and Jensen working, and we saw a lot of that through like the monitors and the security camera and stuff. And they are a bunch of kind of developing technologically people, or at least as an organization. And I guess Tony even kind of points at that technology has always been their weakness.
Yeah.
But I like that we get a lot of what they don't know they can't really tell what Tony's doing. Not that anyone maybe could, or not that many people could. But I like that. That's the kind of natural funny things that
aren't spelled out to you.
Yeah.
Or spoon-fed. And I think this film does a phenomenal job with these
just natural ways of speaking and, displaying a specific situation, because the situational comedy and everything, you just need to do it in a natural, sensible way. Because, later you would see someone like Captain America throw someone and be like, batter up, and then Thor would hit him and be like, strike.
Yep.
Like, all right. Or not strike, whatever the fuck. I guess that's when he missed. I could see Thor saying that, though, because he's a fucking bumbling idiot.
Home run, I don't know.
Home run, there we go. Something like that. And it's just like, well, all of a sudden, this has gotten really stupid. This is not, you know what I mean? Like, that's just, it's just not for me at that point. I don't know if anyone really loves that style of writing or not, but I know I don't.
No, I definitely don't. I don't know how loved the first Iron Man film is. I assumed it's very well loved. I don't know.
It's on Letterboxd, it's among the highest rated MCU films.
Okay,
that's as good. Far as I know, it's among like top 5 kind of thing in the MCU.
Because I know prior to the film, they did a lot of marketing to get this film out there, to get the name Iron Man out there. I guess it wasn't very well known. I mean, I didn't know who Iron Man was before the film, but people knew who Spider-Man was and who Hulk was. I think they even got like an ad in the Super Bowl to advertise this film, which is crazy. Do films normally get advertised in the Super Bowl?
Oh, yeah.
Is that a thing? Yeah. I don't know. I love Super Bowl commercials, but I can't recall any of them.
Usually the only interesting commercials are the non-movie, non-video game, non-show, whatever kind of commercials, because the commercials, that deal with Iron Man are probably going to need to show a little bit of Iron Man. The ones that deal with games are going to have to show a little bit of the game. But if you have a Doritos commercial, that commercial can literally and is often just nonsense. And then it's like someone pulls out a Dorito bag.
Yeah, that's true.
And then, some shit like that.
Like, what? Okay.
Yeah, one other story point I liked was when Tony and Stan Stain were talking around the arc reactor, that's when Stain was telling Tony about, that's a dead technology. I don't know why, about talking about the arc reactor and be like, there's no money in that, and yada, 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 and stuff. And that's kind of indicates that they've messed with it before, and that now Tony has perfected it, and Stain is now aware of that. And it's kind of the crux of the villain part of the movie, but the new technology, so-called new technology, is part of Tony's, in quotes, demise. Didn't really turn out that way, but, I like that angle where, because he goes from traditional weapons dealer making super advanced missiles to being kind of a little bit more morally sound, being like, oh, we're causing more destruction than good. Changes his mind to new technology, and that new technology ends up being even more of a destructive power.
Yeah.
So I like that. It's a good, simple arc that, you don't need to get real crazy with, and they don't. And
it's a phenomenal execution.
Yeah. And it also ends up killing the guy who's trying to abuse it.
Yep.
So it all ties in with each other. That's, an important part of some filmmaking, especially filmmaking like this or any kind of storytelling. It needs to be kind of a cohesive thing, especially when it's a superhero thing. When it's a domestic thing like The Whale, you don't need to ground yourself in any way, because we realize that Charlie is this fat dude living in an apartment afraid to go outside because he's embarrassed about himself, and that's it. We're good. We don't, we're in his shoes. It's not that hard to get behind. So we need a little bit more lift off with Tony, and we get it. It's a very successful film and storytelling. I don't love it. I don't love any superhero shit. Trust me. But I can't sit here and say that it's not very easily among the best superhero films. I like Guardians 3 more, but that's just because of the ideas and themes, I guess, of that film.
That's just because of Drax.
And Drax, yeah. And the chemistry is out of this world. They and the CG even is very good, and it's just got a lot of personality, and it's got infinite money, basically infinite talent behind it and stuff, and so it just has a little bit more to go for it, which it makes the other contemporary MCU films look that much worse because they also have those resources, Yeah. So you gotta assume, are they not all treated equally? That's a little fucked up if you ask me.
Well, they're probably not all given the same love.
No.
But money-wise, hey, probably.
Yeah, probably.
But no, I mean, I'm right there with you. Not that Guardians is better than this.
They're also different films, It's like we've talked about in Guardians, they're not traditional superhero films.
Yeah, but I'd probably put these two up there for sure on my favorite.
What's another one? The Spider-Mans, I guess, right?
Yeah, that's.
So
I was
what about
trying
that?
to decide which Spider-Mans.
What about other than Spider-Man?
Other than Spider-Man?
Yeah.
I mean, I guess we brought up Civil War.
Civil War.
Probably Civil War, and probably one of the what's it called? Not Endgame, but the part one
before it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Is that Infinity War?
I think so.
Yeah, that one probably. Because I don't like any of the Thor movies, and I only partially like Ragnarok because of Hulk.
Mm-hmm.
Even though he doesn't do anything, I mean, it's just Hulk. I like Hulk. He's big. He smashes things.
Yeah,
he's
Hulk
smart.
He doesn't have a lot of character, does he?
He's not developed super well.
And I know, so you can see why they don't have great writers, and Hulk is very easily probably one of the more difficult characters to write in some fleshed out way. So of course they can't go anywhere with Hulk because he's way too complicated of a character to write.
And aren't there like a bunch of Hulk movies?
Yeah, Hulk has been, I don't know about a bunch. I think there was an early 2000s one, and then I think there's that Edward Norton one. And then I think there's that show with Lou Ferrigno. And then the comic is huge. I think that's one of the bigger MCU or Marvel comics.
I bet you Spider-Man's bigger.
Yeah, no, I think Spider-Man probably is the biggest if I had to guess, but like among, I mean, probably top 10. I don't really know, but he seems to be like, I mean, especially pre, Iron Man, I mean, I think Hulk, Spider-Man, and Batman are probably the most popular heroes. And maybe X-Men in there. Probably before MCU, probably the biggest superhero stuff.
Yeah, I wasn't anything into the superhero stuff before Iron Man. I think I've seen some of the Hulk movies, maybe just one. I don't know. I remember watching one with my cousin, but I don't think I finished it. I think I fell asleep. But even the Fantastic Four movies seem stupid to me.
They must be pretty big too, because we've seen several reboots of them. They must be pretty big in the comic world. Did you see Iron Man in theaters?
I don't think so. I know I watched Iron Man 3 in theaters, but I don't think I saw Iron Man 1 and 2 in theaters.
Okay. Yeah, I don't remember if I did or not. Iron Man 1 was the first Blu-ray movie I ever watched.
Interesting.
So, I probably even to this day, I've probably only seen maybe 5 Blu-ray movies. So.
Really?
Yeah, because after, I don't know, I didn't watch anything outside of TV for the most part, other than the theater. So I didn't have DVDs or Blu-rays or anything like that. And by the time I watched movies, the bootleg thing was so big that I just, was surrounded by that. And then streaming took off, and so it's just like, well, there's just, no, I don't have any DVDs or Blu-rays in my life.
Yeah, when, Black Friday was big in stores, I guess now Black Friday is really online now because you can get deals before and then Cyber Monday or whatever. But before then, back when you stood in line for hours, that was kind of a family thing we did right after Thanksgiving.
Go raid the DVDs?
We'd go do the Black Friday thing and go raid the Blu-rays. They were on sale. They were
Blu-rays.
super cheap.
Like how much?
Like $5 to $10. That's where I got all my Planet of the Apes, like the Rise of the Planet of the Apes.
Are they all Blu-rays?
And the Dawn. Yeah, I have them all on Blu-ray. I think I have quite a few movies on Blu-ray from Black Friday deals. So I've seen probably a lot of Blu-rays, and the PlayStation could play them. So that was a bonus.
That's right, the PS3.
Yep.
The Xbox 360 could not play those.
Boom.
Got them. Good for nothing. What do you think about the very end? The boss battle, the fight. Was it a cool fight?
That was a cool fight. There was enough action there. There was enough suspense there. He has some lady run him over. That was hilarious. Stupid lady. Some people probably got killed.
And that's another funny thing that feels very natural. Like, it's situational comedy.
Yeah.
It's like, we don't need the whole, I know this is like the Star Wars thing, but I think we saw I think it's in the final Star Wars episode 11 or 12 or the fuck they're on, where there's like a line of guys and some kind of vehicle, and they're like, they can fly now, and they're like, next guy's like, they can fly, and the next guy was like, they can fly. It's just like, whoa.
What? Really?
Yeah, they all say it. All fucking 20 of them
God.
get in a line and say it. It's just like, what is going on? This is not okay. This is a fever dream. It's a fever dream of writing. Like, I imagine that people who write for a living, like actually write, not people who write Star Wars and Marvel. But
Damn. Got him.
But people who like care about the craft and maybe you have a hard time finding work or something, or like publish a thing every year or whatever, a book or something. I don't know. Writers. Man, I can only imagine. It's kind of like, when other people, you're working, you're doing your job, and then you have someone who does your job, but they're doing it like you can't believe they do your job, kind of thing. It's like, how do you have the same job I have?
Oh, I could go days.
Yeah. Oh, I know you can.
Talking about that.
That kind of thing. I imagine that's a hard pill to swallow.
Yeah, but I liked in that end fight, I guess right before they start fighting. I really like when Pepper finds him in the dark, and then his eyes glow up, and then she starts running and she's getting chased. That was cool. And then he comes from under the ground and tears up all the gravel. Like, that was cool. That was awesome. Cool. And then the fighting scene, and then him thrusting in the air like a fucking spaceship. I mean, it was cool. It was all cool.
His suit gets torn up. It feels,
Oh yeah, and then he tries to like blast him with his hand, and he's not wearing his glove blaster. It's like, oh fuck.
Yeah.
And then you don't know what he's gonna do, and then Pepper has to hit the button, and he's still up there. Is he gonna die? God damn, it's so good.
I agree. It's like how I don't know why. Like they should before you sit down and write the next Marvel movie, you should just watch this one and then maybe watch a couple of the other good ones, and just kind of write out the outline, write out some of the things you like, and then try to inject it in some way or another into the thing you're writing. And it'll become a cyclical thing, and then all of a sudden everything's actually decently written.
That's too smart.
Yeah, it is.
It's too smart.
They don't have that much time on their hand, I guess, to fucking watch a movie.
They gotta write the jokes.
I have heard from people who work in film and stuff that they don't have time to watch movies, and it just seems so like that's why are you making films if you're not watching films? Like it feels like you're missing an important part of the craft.
Oh yeah, the learning process for sure.
So that's like someone saying who writes anything, books, comics, and you don't read the craft. Like there's one thing to say about you don't want to copy someone, but you have enough self-awareness and self-control to not do that, right? So, you're not an idiot, I don't think, but but it just seems a little odd. Not that I'm pointing at, not that I'm saying anyone specifically in this movie, but or any other movie, but I have heard that pop up with people.
Yeah, that's not okay. It's like me working in quality and saying I don't have time to read the procedures.
Yeah, kind of.
What?
Mm-hmm.
That's part of your job.
Yeah, and you
that's
hear
how you
about
make decisions.
Yes, and you hear about some directors and writers and stuff forcing their actors and stuff to watch movies, read books, before they come to the shoot and stuff.
Good.
Like I think
it's sad you even have to say it.
Yeah, I mean, sort of. I think if I remember correctly, Tom Holland was forced, not, whatever that means,
Yeah.
He was encouraged to play Uncharted.
Oh,
I'm pretty sure
cool.
I read about that he had ran through those games when he was filming for those 30 days.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, I think that's very cool. And I know, but on the other side of that, I think Pedro Pascal was encouraged by the directors, by Craig Mason and Neil Druckmann, to not play the Last of Us games. So I thought that was kind of interesting.
I wonder why. Spoilers? To keep his character on edge?
Maybe. There's might be something to that from an artistic kind of point of view, which is
like the lady in The Shining.
But doing something like that only just kind of elevates your kind of artistic vision in the matter. But it may have something to do with them wanting to kind of separate the two as well, because the Uncharted is a little bit different. There's not a lot of character in Nathan Drake, the main character, and he's got a lot of personality and stuff, but he's not, super fleshed out and everything. And so playing the games doesn't really hurt. There's a lot of character in Joel in the games and stuff. And so maybe they wanted to keep the two separate so they could have just kind of two companion pieces with each other and stuff. And
okay, that makes sense.
Because they're very different, the game and the show, and they're forced, they're by virtue of the medium, they really have to be, because you don't have 20 hours to spend with Joel and Ellie hanging out in the woods and chatting it up. You gotta get through point A, point B, point C. So which does suck on one level, but yeah, man. What do you think about the poster, the Iron Man poster, on the Wikipedia? Well, this is the Wikipedia. Okay.
It's nothing special. I mean, the suit looks nice. It makes you stop and look at it, but that's about it. Maybe if they would have just kept half of that poster, the left half of Iron Man.
Yeah, I did see a poster. It was a close-up of his face, like the close-up of the mask with the eye lit and stuff, and that's good.
That's cool.
That's cool. That's all you need. But instead, we have a piece of shit poster, just like Blue Beetle.
Yeah, you know what? And I enjoy the colors in Blue Beetle way more than these. That's so sad.
I see. I don't know how posters like this. This is like AI generated poster right here, and way before AI.
How is Slaughterhouse with the little three-toed sloth's hand dripping blood going to be way better than Blue Beetle and Iron Man? poster.
Yeah.
How?
A good poster is more times than not very obvious, because you just need to make it simple and kind of provocative in just the right way. The bloody three-toed sloth. That's all you need. That's good stuff. And then close up on Iron Man and stuff. It's cool imagery. It's just cool imagery. And then but we basically got it looks like Blue Beetle probably just looked at this and was like, all right, let's just try to do something like this. But unfortunately, everyone fucking does that, so I can't give them that much credit. They didn't do their homework at all, actually. Blue Beetle. They didn't either. Iron Man, yeah.
Yeah, it sucks.
Yeah. Well, man, do you have a budget guess for me today?
I do have a budget guess.
What is
your
your budget guess?
Was $135 million, which was kind of hard to guess because this is Marvel, but it's also the beginning, and it was back in 2008, so that was a little harder for me to guess. Not too long ago, but a little long enough that I was questioning.
Yeah.
So I went with 135.
Sure. Well, that was a very good guess because it says here that it was 130 to 140. You're right in the middle. That's as good as it gets right there. Good job.
Thank you. Yeah, at first I was thinking like 175, but then I kind of grounded myself on my timeline.
That's great.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's fun.
So I went back, and then this is my budget guess I went with. So okay, cool.
Good job, right in the middle there. It says here that it went on to make $585 million, which is not great.
Shit. That's not great?
No.
Why?
Yeah, I mean, that's very good, but that's not, what they would come to be. But it really is kind of humble beginnings for MCU. That's the kind of money that these shitty movies are starting to make.
Yeah, I was reading that Robert Downey Jr. got paid $500,000 for Iron Man.
Yeah, that's a lot of money, but you'd think he'd be getting paid a lot more than that.
Yeah. For what it is and how beloved it is, how inspirational it is.
Yeah.
And
what you say?
I was also reading that because I know we talked about this when we were watching the guy who plays Rhodes and how he got recasted in Iron Man 2. It was because of a salary problem. I guess they were trying to pay him less because they paid Robert Downey Jr. more. So in Iron Man 2, Robert Downey Jr. made $10 million plus any back end profits from I don't know what. But that was quite a jump. And they were trying to pay Rhodes dude less
than the first film?
Yep. So he was like, nope, screw you guys, and the other guy got recasted. Or got casted, however you say that. And it always just sucks for me when someone gets recasted. Unless they sucked completely, then that's okay. But I like my consistency in characters, and I already put a name to the face, so it's always unfortunate to see someone go because of, those types of problems. Like salary and creative differences and whatnot.
Yeah, I think that was the first time I ever noticed a big cast change, too.
Me too. I was like, whoa, what happened to Rhodes? That's not what he looked like. It was a very drastic change. Yep.
Well, man, do you have any final thoughts for me?
No final thoughts.
That was a good talk. Thank you for that.
Thank you for watching one of my favorite movies of all time.
You're welcome. Is it still a favorite movie of all time?
I still need to make a list. But it's definitely
it's
top.
Still loved?
Still super definitely loved. Top
25?
Yeah, top 25. Yeah. Still loved.
Okay, good. Yeah, I think, because, I slightly worry about that with films and doing this with you. I don't want to take away that early magic, especially, or kind of corrupt you and shit-talking the little things that you love, like Transformers and stuff.
Mm-hmm. And I think Garfield suffered just a little bit from that. But, it should, because I'm a grown-ass person now.
Yeah, there's, the time and place for certain stuff.
Yeah.
I get that. But I'm glad. I don't think anyone should be embarrassed or feel like they need to recalibrate what a good film is in their mind and stuff, because the good storytelling is all over this film. If you like it or not, It's on you. I don't love this movie, but I do. I think it's a very good movie. I think it's a very excellent movie.
Good. I'm glad.
Oh, I guess one thing I wanted to say too was those transitions were very Star Wars. Thought that was very interesting.
Yeah, I don't know what that means, but
yeah, early Star Wars.
Especially early Star Wars. I think I've only seen like Rogue One.
That's that's one of the newest ones.
Yeah, so. And the Han Solo one, which is my favorite Star Wars movie out of those two.
Yeah, I've heard by people who like the originals, the only new one they like is Solo.
Oh,
that's what I've heard. And like people who were kind of there in the beginning, I should say. I liked Rogue One when I first saw it, but I haven't seen it since it came out. But other than that, I'm not a big Star Wars person. But those transitions are pretty iconic. I'm surprised you don't really know those. You probably, if you see Star Wars and you're like, okay, that's where that's from, you'll probably start to see that transition a little more. Like, oh shit, that's where that came from, kind of thing. Kind of like when you see, I think the film's called Seven Samurai. When you watch that from like 1960 maybe or something like that, and then you watch Star Wars, you're like, oh shit, that's where Star Wars came from. Came from that film. That's where George Lucas got the idea for a lot of these characters and stuff. Just some Japanese film. Akira Kurosawa, actually. We might watch that one day. But yeah, man, thank you for watching this film with me. I had a good time watching it. Much better than Blue Beetle.
That's true. That is true. Thank you. You're welcome.
I almost want to give Blue Beetle a 1 out of 5.
Damn.
But I'm just so... It's not that bad, right?
I didn't think so.
Okay.
I didn't think it was that bad.
It's serviceable, right?
It's not like Little Mermaid.
Yeah, no.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, exactly. It's serviceable.
Yes. Yeah, but it's not in the 3 range either.
No, definitely not. No, it's sitting at a 1.5 in my mind.
Okay, yeah.
But I'm like,
I'd probably give it a 2.5.
It just feels so. The bad things kind of stick out in my mind.
Yeah.
But there's some good and love in Blue Beetle. It's not like, I don't know, just throw a fucking dart at any of the others. So.
Teenage Kraken.
I was gonna say another Marvel film or DC. You know, Batman vs Superman, Flash,
God, Jesus.
Ant-Man,
Shazam.
Like, it's not even fair to talk about DC. They're so fucking rough. Black Widow, Eternals. There's so many bad ones.
Yeah.
All right, you guys, thank you for listening to this episode. You can catch us every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday for brand new episodes on Patreon. Come by and give us $1. Check us out. Or $2. Yeah, custom amount is available. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Go check out our YouTube. It's we're slowly drip feeding some rendered videos out there. I'm trying to figure out how to create thumbnails.
We're on YouTube?
Yep.
Wow.
They can put us on the background on loop so we can get that watch time up.
Yeah, go do that.
Leave nice reviews, nice comments. Thank you guys for listening to this episode. Until next time, take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
And that's a wrap for today's episode of the Filmsteins. Thanks for tuning in and joining us on our cinematic journey. We hope you enjoyed our discussion and gained some new insights and perspectives on the world of movies. Don't forget to subscribe to our podcast on your favorite platform, especially Patreon at patreon.com/Filmsteins, and follow us on social media for more film-related content. We love hearing from our listeners, so if you have any feedback, suggestions, movie recommendations, or book recommendations, please feel free to reach out to us. Until next time, keep watching, keep loving the magic of movies. This is the Filmsteins signing off.